it. Let's record this. Welcome. Hey, Sandra. Good to see you. Good to see you, Joel. I'm glad I could be a part of your lunch break today. Oh, I'm so glad you guys are here. And you guys are in for a treat because this is a new topic that I haven't actually spoke in public about yet. So I am super excited. Yay! Risa's here. Hey there, Melissa. Welcome. Welcome. And so what I want to do is I actually want to make this very hold on, I'm getting confused by all my screens right now. Hold on. You ever do that? And I'm like, I'm streaming live on Facebook and I got the Zoom here and I got what's projecting. All right. I'm going to leave the phone. So today is going to be a little bit different than past webinars I've done. And this is because I want this to be interactive, very much like we're sitting around a table. And this is going to be a talk on how to pause the pendulum of productivity. And the reason I'm talking about this is because this is a topic that I've seen a lot of people struggle with and work with. And aside from this, maybe 2 or 3 other slides. I don't really have a whole lot of slides. I don't have any slides to show. It's really just going to be a talk. And this is a culmination of different pieces I have discovered along the way. And I want it to get out. And if you are watching live on Facebook, I want you to jump over into our Zoom room. It's catzoom.com, passcode Rockstar. So come on over and join us over here because I'm not going to continue to stream this on Facebook. I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of a teaser. So if you're watching, also if you're watching in the replay format, do hashtag replay down below in the comments. So the pausing of the pendulum of productivity. This topic is something that I have not only noticed with agents and with people in life. Hey there, Laura, welcome. Is that it's something that I have struggled with in my own life. And, you know, I think when we are talking about things that it's always easier for us to see patterns in other people than it is for ourselves. So when we can notice patterns or we notice that somebody is doing something that doesn't quite jive with us, that's an indication that we've got something unresolved in ourselves. So when you are seeing other people and they're rubbing you the wrong way or you're feeling judgy about them, oftentimes it's a reflection of something unresolved in ourselves. So what I want you guys to do right now is have your chat screen open because this is an interactive talk. And whenever you hear something that resonates with you, I want you to type it in the chat. I want you to say, yes, that's me. And I'm going to be also asking for some engagement because this is not just the cat show. This is more like we're all in a room together having a living room chat or a coffee table chat or something like that. So it's going to be a bit philosophical with some special insights into yourself, your mind, human psychology. And what would really be cool is if you had the real estate lead generation secrets group open in the background. So anytime you heard, you're like, an aha, you type it in there and you make a post. So these are called key takeaways because anytime you can reflect back something that you have learned, it tells your brain, that's important. We're going to hang on to this. So when you write down your key takeaways on paper or in the group, it actually solidifies it into your brain that, hey, this is important. We're going to hang on to this. So again, if you are watching live on Facebook, jump over into the Zoom room. I'm about to stop the Facebook stream. Come over into the Zoom room, catzoom.com, passcode Rockstar. And again, if you're watching in recorder format, hashtag replay in the comments below. All right, now with all of that done. All right, we are done on Facebook. So again, thank you everybody for coming. And I got a couple of new faces here. Sandra, welcome to my side of the world. And Risa, I don't think we've officially met. Laura, we have.
I'm happy to be.
Yay! Risa, we talked a little bit on chat, and Melissa, we haven't had the pleasure of having a conversation yet. And Joel, another repeat offender. I love it. I love it. And Laura, Doreen, beautiful faces. Okay. So I want to get started, and I do have some notes. Yeah, so this is going to be a little bit different because I do want to hear from you. So ideally, you've got the chat screen pulled up, and let me also open my own chat screen. Yay. And yeah, I'm calling it a workshop because I want participation, and we're here to have a conversation. I want to let you know, I want you to let me know where you connect with the story, and please go. I want this to be more interactive than a webinar. So first of all, let's talk about what is this productivity pendulum and how does it relate to your life? And we're going to look at this in two parts. Oh, and this is one of the slides I do have. So let's do this, and we're going to share the screen. Right? Oh, I need to project it. Oh, Screen 3. There you go. Give me a thumbs up if you can see the title, How to Pause the Productivity. Awesome. Okay. So we're going to attack this in two different sides. So the first part is we're going to talk about productivity and how you're living your goal life and you're living your current life. Then we're going to talk about the pendulum and its relation to energy and ego. And a pro tip for life is when I ask a question or anybody asks a question, if you get it wrong, you learn the lesson. If you watch somebody else get it wrong, you don't learn the lesson. So anytime you have a chance to take action and be active, do it, because that's the way you will actually learn faster, better. So having said all that, let's go ahead and talk about the productivity portion of this. So the productivity is, well, this is something I want to ask for you guys. Because first we're going to define the productivity, what it means to be living your goal life and what it means to be living your current life. Then we're going to define the pendulum and what it means to you and talk about that in terms of energy and ego. And then the third thing, we're going to talk about how it all fits together and what to do to alleviate some of those low productivity days to help you become more consistent. And why this is important is because I hear people who are super productive one day and they feel switched on and are all sorts of action taking, especially the days that we have coaching calls. And then the days when we don't have coaching calls, they tend to go back to the current life and are not quite as productive. So this seems kind of interesting, and I wonder how this has shown up in your life. So what is the spectrum of productivity, and why do I use the word pendulum? So the spectrum of productivity, you've got two ends. You've got the super effective, productive, living your best life. And then on the other side, you've got this unmotivated, procrastinating, not taking action person. So I want you to type into the chat now, what does it look like when you are being productive? Like, what are the things that you consider productive? What are the things that you're doing? Thanks, Doreen. Okay. So what are the things that mean productivity to you? So time blocking. Yep. Awesome. Awesome. Having a conversation. Yeah. Getting things done. Yep. Daily habits. Yep. Good job, Doreen. Doreen, daily habits. Joel, getting emotion, things done. Laura, having a conversation. Sandra, making small steps towards the end goal and getting stuff done that you had planned. Yeah, Doreen, getting those certainty items checked off. Yeah. Love it, Rissa. Learning new processes. Laura, getting action steps and training done. Awesome. Staying on task, Joel. Perfect. Yeah, absolutely. So when you are being productive and you're doing all of these things, you're staying on task, you're getting things done, you're moving things forward. These are things This is the ideal. This is the reason it feels productive, is because you know that that's the thing that's moving you forward. So I've asked some other people this same thing. Some of the answers have been like meal prepping, actually going out to exercise, or going to the gym, sticking to the schedule, like Melissa said. Yeah, like Laura said, having conversations, doing those little things, going above and beyond for your clients. Yeah. Hey there, Eddie. Good to see you. Hey, Shelly. Welcome. And so it's being focused on your ideas and your projects, and that you do the things that you know you should do. And so you end up with this big confidence boost when you're productive and getting the things done. So it's being focused, it's living that dream life, it's living that goal life, that destination life, being the person that you know you need to be. And the thing about that is that there's actually no real destination. There's just that place where you aim to be, you want to be that person. And so you are actually living your future self. When you're being productive, you're channeling all of this energy away from the future. And so what's productivity? Productivity is that you are living that future self. Now, as long as it feels like that future self, it's still going to be effort, it's still going to be extra energy. Now let's talk a little bit about the pendulum. And you know what, from the goal life, you swing back to the other side, which is living back in your current life. So you're living your future life, you're being the person that you need to be, doing all the things. And then, because this is so new, it takes the energy, you actually end up swinging to the other side. How many of you guys have noticed this, have felt that, where you've been super productive, living your best life, and then all of a sudden, like the next day, you're out of energy, or you've been on vacation, tons of energy, having the time of your life, and then you have to go back to work and suddenly you're low on energy? How many of you guys have felt that? Put hashtag me in the chat. Yeah, awesome. I see a lot of hand raised. Right on. And so this is the pendulum. This is the pendulum where you want to be this big thing. You want to live at 110%. You want to live at 150%. But then some days you're only living at 60. And so when you're up here, you're living your best life, you're living your future life, you're borrowing your energy from the future, and then you have to take time to recover. So this is part of the pendulum. And you may find out that you can sustain this for a day, sometimes 5 days, sometimes a week, maybe even a couple weeks. But then at some point you can't sustain that high velocity. So you swing the other way and you end up on a lower energy state, less productive. And then you start wondering, what is wrong with me? What happened? Why am I not living this life? I went to bed super energized, happy with what I was doing, and I woke up exhausted. Or for maybe a week, you were living your best life up here at 110%. And then after the weekend, you can't show up to work on Monday just because you're so exhausted. And for whatever reason, you're not productive. And you may notice that you're back in your old habits, doing those things that you don't want to do, not going to the gym, sleeping in past your alarm. And you don't have the energy or the focus to do the new things, to do that change. Or you're out of willpower, or your child is sick today, or you got off your game because you had an argument with your spouse or a dispute with a friend. And now it's been a week since that one productive day, or that one productive week, or it's been a month now, or now it's been a year, or now it's been 8 years since you've been to the gym. And so you make up reasons to justify why you are not reaching them, and you think, well, you know what, that's too much, that's too much. And in that moment, this is when you've cut down your confidence. You've created doubt and mistrust within yourself. And so what I want you to notice is not how much work you are doing, but how can you control this oscillation, right? Because it's, instead of being at 110, 120, 130% up here on some days, like we're living this high life, hey, we're doing all these amazing things and we're riding the wave. What can you do? And then having to recover from all that energy that you use, is that what can you do instead of going all the way from one side to the other to minimize the pendulum swing? You know, you may have been living the high life, you join the catapult tribe, you're in the CPI, you know what's going to happen after you have all of these really exciting things that you've entered into. And if it hasn't happened already, you're going to start questioning whether you've made the right choices. You're living over here, you're like, yes, I'm aiming for my life, I'm doing all the things, all this extra energy. And then you're going to start wondering, where are things at for me right now? What do I really feel? I've got all these new feelings. And at some point you may have had buyer's remorse. When you've entered a program, you might have wondered if this is the right place for you. And you ride the wave all the way down, ego pulling you back to safety and comfort. And you may stop hanging out with your friends, and you might stop doing the things that you enjoy doing. And the definition of discipline is doing, and this is one thing you might want to write down, is doing what needs to be done, when it needs to be done, whether you feel like it or not. And so I'd like to introduce to you the idea of the 80%. Instead of thinking that you need to be at 110% every day and then expecting that you're not going to run out of energy and then getting down on yourself when you do, I'd like to introduce an idea of setting more realistic expectations. Whereas we do 80% energy all of the time, and then we only have, when we've got extra time, and we know, so we don't have this big swing, that we only go from here to here, and we're at this nice comfortable zone. And I want you to think, how would your life look if you approached every workday and gave 80%? Gave 80%. You gave 80%, which leaves 20% for yourself, for your family, giving yourself space and not burning the candle at both ends, where you're staying up late and waking up early and exercising and changing your diet and doing all the things that you should be doing. And then waking up one morning feeling amazing, having tons of energy. And then the next day waking up feeling like you've been hit by a truck because you used all of your energy from the day before. So I do want to share one of the slides with you guys. This is screen 3. This is the gym in January. Everybody's like, yes, I'm going to do it. This is my year. Let's go to the gym, all this energy. And they go and they're there, you know, the parking lot is packed full of cars. All the equipment is taken up. There's lines behind the treadmills. I think it's February, which is then what is it, the unofficial official break your New Year's resolution day. So 1 month most people have it in them to go to the gym and be consistent, because by the time we get to March, people aren't going anymore. I love this meme. Man, I forgot to go to the gym today. That's 8 years in a row now. And awesome. Yeah, Melissa, you give 100%, 80% of the time. Good deal. Awesome. Oh, I haven't looked at the comments. You can't live at 200% capacity all the time, right, Sandra? You got it. Yeah, do what needs to get done, whether it needs to or not. It feels counterintuitive not to be giving 100%. Oh, I hear you. You guys will see me. I'm high energy. I love to be just out there doing lots of stuff and being active. Yeah. All right. So I want to talk about what and why this pendulum thing is important, because one side of the pendulum is focus and productivity, and the other side is often unfocused and unmotivated. And there's two things at play here. And I encourage you to write this down, that we just talked a little bit about energy. we talked about energy and how that works. Like you spend all your energy up here, 110%, and then over here is where you have to recover. And what is it about? Why do we feel that we need to be so super over the top over here and then borrow energy from the next day or the next week or after we stop doing it, instead of just falling in love with this process and becoming, instead of doing high energy, low energy, why don't we just become a more productive being instead of swinging from one side to the other? And every day that you show up, you're going to be at a different 100% or a different 80%, however you do it. Because maybe you didn't sleep well the night before, or you used all your energy, or you did a hard workout. And so when you spend all of this energy over here, and you're going to need to recover it and take time to revive yourself from somewhere else. And I would be curious to know, type it into the chat, what are the things that you do when you're not being productive? Yeah, what are the things that you do? Are you a Netflix marathon type of person? What are the, let's say, the low energy or the low productivity tasks? Yeah, Rissa. TikTok and yeah, you get out of, okay, so Doreen, you're talking about how to get back to productive. Yeah. Right on, Laura. Listening to trainings, and you should be taking action. Yeah. TikTok, reality TV. Is anybody here? Anybody else watch Netflix? Yeah. Yeah. Go hiking. Okay, so now we're talking about things to get back to productivity. Well, that's a good one. Let's answer that. What are the things you do to get yourself out of the low productivity state back into productivity? Yeah, just to set that in there. I love it that you give yourself time limits. Now, is this time limits for when you are working or time limits off? Off. Okay. Gotcha. Both.
Yeah,
Okay.
I know if I'm going to watch something, I go, okay, one episode or 1 hour, and then you're done.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah. Episodes, yeah, you can really get wrapped up into those, right? And you're like, oh, I gotta watch the next one, gotta watch the next one, see what happens. So I'm going to move over into the next part and just talk a little bit about ego and how that affects you. And I want to ask you because I wonder, and I'm curious, and I realize this is going to be a vulnerable moment moving forward, and possibly even a hard pill to swallow for many people, is that I'd be curious to know, how often do you criticize? Curious to know, how often do you criticize yourself or criticize yourself in these times? What about how often do you criticize people around you or objects around you, like cars or traffic or the drivers or the way that people drive or their clothing or political opinions? I wonder if you criticize people for having low-end handbags or high-end handbags, clothes they wear, and I wonder how much the things that you're criticizing around you actually reflect back to you. Because I wonder, as I say all of this, though, you think to yourself, oh, wow, you know what, going through that list, there's a lot more there that I didn't think about. And I wonder if you maybe have agonized over a Facebook post or an email that you've previously written or a text that you've sent to someone, and you didn't get the response you wanted, or a conversation you had at a party previously, and you went back and you replayed it in your mind. You're like, oh, I should have said this. Why didn't I say this? Or maybe it's you jump on Facebook to engage with other people and you see all the wins that they're posting and you think, well, my life isn't like that. And then you see people posting food and you're thinking, well, that's not really what's going on with me. I'm not this awesome cook, or they're getting all this attention because they are graduating, or they've just had a baby, or they're getting married. And there's a lot of, yeah, Eddie, I like the self-critical more than criticizing others. A huge part of emotional intelligence. Yeah, self-regulation, empathy. Yeah, that's good. Thank you for putting that in there. And that criticism, whether it's going out or coming in, is doing you a lot of damage, especially if that's your default, especially then. And a lot of people, I've noticed, a lot of people think that they need to criticize themselves in order to drive forward. And maybe, I don't know, maybe growing up, maybe you did really well in something. Maybe you were good at sports, or you excelled at a specific subject. Maybe you were good at math or music or art or whatever it was. And you took it home and you said, Mom and Dad, look, I did this great thing and I got 98%, or I got to the semifinals in soccer or my sport. And you said, aren't you proud of me? And they said, hey, Kat, great job. You got to the semifinals, or a 98%. When are you going to get a higher score? When are you going to get 100%? When are you going to get to the grand final, to the championship? And so we end up as high achievers dismissing a lot of our achievements because of this thing that we have been just indoctrinated to, that, hey, it would be great if you got a little bit more. Not good enough for right here, but a little bit more. And it's a character trait of high achievers to dismiss a lot of their achievements. Because, and maybe this is your talk track too in your head, that I'm not that special. I'm just me. Anybody can do what I do. But the truth is, not everybody can do what you're doing. Not everybody has made the choice to step out of their comfort zone to be a real estate agent, to be self-employed, to do that new thing. And the truth is that people who show up to webinars in the middle of the day are special. You guys are amazing. And no, not everybody has the guts to do this. And not everybody has put in the amount of work to get themselves to this point. Not everyone can do what you are doing. And it would be ill of you to dismiss your ability to help those people around you feel as though, oh, I'm not special, I'm the same as you. And it would be ill of you to continue to criticize or listen to the criticism of others and take that on board. Because I know that you're here because you've got that internal voice that is telling you to be modest and not show off, but instead you hide because you don't want to be seen as bragging. So you shrink yourself to fit in this little box that society allows you to be in, because we as humans are designed to want to fit in. And on those days when you're not feeling 100%, you may look around and notice somebody who is less successful than you and think, okay, well, I could be worse. And maybe mom and dad said to you growing up, oh, honey, you're fine. Look at this person over here. You're way better off than them. And it becomes this vicious cycle of criticism. And so, like I said at the beginning, the thing, though, is that the thing that we see in other people is the thing that we have unresolved in ourselves. So if you're noticing a lot of things in your business, such as, hey, my clients aren't returning my calls, ask yourself, where is it that you're not returning calls? Or if your clients are not keeping their appointments, ask yourself, where is it that I'm not keeping my appointments? If you're not getting engagement on your social media, ask yourself, where is it that you're not giving them something to engage with? And so it's this spectrum of taking on the reflection of what you can see outwardly. Because here's the thing about the inner and the outer world is that when your outer world is up to the standard of your inner world, this is called being congruent. And the outer world and the inner world matching is not necessarily a destination. It is the journey to get there. It means being on the journey. And so congruency doesn't mean that you have arrived or that you're the king of the mountain or that you're perfect. We talk about people online or in videos being real, genuine, authentic. And it's we have to admit, we have to let other people see us make the mistake and be imperfect. And it's okay to have mix-ups and mess-ups because this is a journey. And this is a journey that we're all on. And I think one of the biggest misconceptions in business is that there is a finite or fixed destination. A lot of people say, oh, I just want to make 100,000. But to make that 100,000, that's not the destination. Because if you make that 100,000 and then nothing else happens, did you actually, like, what happened to everything here to get there? Because $100,000, if that's your income goal, when you get there, it's a speed. It is not a fixed point. It is on a trajectory. Because once you hit that, you're building systems to keep going. It's an evolution. It's a growth. Because when you are running the cycle and you just stop at 100,000, that's like being a one-hit wonder. And so the congruency between the inner and the outer world is created by action, by starting to close the gap between what you should be doing, what you are doing, and the mismatch in between. So action is going to precede the clarity. So if this is your goal, to live up here, to be your best self, then if you are down here, the next thing to do is to start connecting the dots, to start connecting the pieces from the internal world to the outer world and bring them together. And when you start taking these actions, Sandra, we talked about this the other day, you start making course corrections along the way. And this action and judgment, all of this is, the action will help your congruency. The adjustments as you go along will help you bring together the inner and the outer world, because ultimately it's that action taking that fuels the growth. And you can't be perfect before you start taking action, right? The action of taking the action is what actually brings the two together. And it makes me think of being a parent, and I'm not a parent, so I don't have all those parenting skills, but I see my brother and my sister-in-law. Type in the chat now, how many of you guys are parents? If you are a parent, right? Parent in the chat. Awesome. Yeah. All right, Doreen and Laura, Melissa, Eddie, parents. Awesome. Joel, yeah. Now, before you had your first child, how many of you guys, one parent of a fluffy cat, about looking to sell Eddie. How many of you guys, before you became a parent, had it all figured out, knew what to do to parent? Right? You just kind of show up and figure it out as you go. And I think that's what happens with a lot of time in business, is that internally we're like, I have to know everything before I start. I have to know how to get them on a routine. I have to know how to set up play dates. I know I need to know how to discipline. And the truth is, you just figure it out as you go. And I think that is something that mindset of I need to have it all figured out before I take action is an unnatural mindset. Yes, and we like to know everything. And the whole idea of, oh, I need to do this before I can take action, or I need to do this. These are really a lot of procrastination techniques because you'll figure it out. You'll figure it out. And then and the more times, like in the beginning, we talked about the more times you can get the lesson wrong, the more you will learn. And I know that you're probably here in my world because you've got a message and impact to share with the world. And this message is your child. And it's been gifted to you to deliver this message to the world. And nobody else needs to understand why you've been gifted this message. And if you're anything like me, you're different than the rest of your family too. You know, girls aren't supposed to have short hair, especially not with one side of their head shaved. Girls aren't supposed to go to the Middle East alone. Women aren't supposed to start businesses, especially in the Middle East. And so my question is, at what point did you decide, how old were you? What happened with your life that caused you to be critical or unaccepting of yourself? And where did you learn this to take on other people's opinions? Because when we are born as children, we are 100% like, I'm crying, I'm hungry, feed me now, right? We are very demanding of our needs. You're like, I'm crying, I'm tired, put me to bed. And as a child, you won't eat the things that you don't want to eat. And so at what point along your journey, was it your parents or somebody that influenced you to actually start being critical of yourself? When did that happen? When did that happen? When did I finally realize, like, you know what? I'm just gonna cut my hair short. I cannot handle this long hair on my neck, in my face. I just said, you know what? It's gone. And you know, my parents probably thought I was crazy cutting my hair short. And it's easy to avoid doing the things you don't want to do. And it's difficult to go against society and go against what your parents or your family or what they have set you up with to think of as normal. So most people don't put their true lives on social media. Most people put only the shiniest objects out there, like, hey, look at this awesome dinner I'm having, or look how happy my marriage is, look at this awesome trip that we took. And you know, so when you compare yourself to people's social media lives, this is the disconnect when we start noticing that, hey, this is what people are showing me, but in actuality, they're here. They're showing me the super productive, they're showing me the awesomeness, but really they're down here and there's a big disconnect. And so you see this, but you're living this and you think, oh my gosh, what am I doing with my life? And so my question is, when did that split? When did that split start? And I'm curious, at what point did well, I'm gonna introduce you to a term right now. It means when your inside world and your outside world, the outside world being what you expect of yourself, all the things that you know you should do. And then your internal world is how you talk to yourself, what you do when you're by yourself alone in your office, in your room, when nobody's watching. And the difference between these two is called cognitive dissonance. And here's your clue. You might want to write this down. When the distance between the external world and the internal world is really large, this is when you have more of that pendulum swing. When you try to be this person up here who's living their best life, doing all the things, living up to your expectations, but you can't handle it because that you're not there just yet. You're still acting it. It takes a ton of energy to do it. and then you swing back over here and you have to recover. You have to be in your comfort zone. You have to do all the certainty things. And you're unconsciously going to be sabotaging yourself so you actually end up back where you are, because this is where your ego takes you. Because to make a change, you have to make the change. You have to be the change. You have to be different. And I have a friend, her name is Simone, Simone Liley. She says, I caught this in one of my notes. She says, fuck all happens if you don't change shit. and yeah, I love it. And I love that quote because it's so encompassing of like, nothing happens if you don't change anything. Fuck all happens when you don't change shit. So nothing happens if you don't actually make a change. And to make the change, you have to do the change, right? You have to do the things differently to get the different result. Because we all know the definition of insanity. It's doing the same thing over and over again, expecting that different result. And your ego wants you. Your ego wants you to be safe. It has no intention of making you rich. It has no intention of pushing you out of your comfort zone. It has no intention of helping you grow as a person, because your ego is there to keep you in this safe space. So when you have thoughts of this person on Facebook is doing awesomely, that's your ego protecting you, saying, oh, you know what? No, they're doing something wrong because that's not your comfort zone. So what I really need you to focus on right now is not believing all of the hype and this amazingness that you have some days that you're productive and you're like, oh my gosh, my diet is finally working. I've been putting so much effort towards it. I'm going to the gym. I'm waking up early. I'm doing all the things. This is the hype. So the tip is to bring yourself out of the believing that this is you into bringing it back down here. Like, okay, what's the process that I can weave into my life? What's the person that I can become so that I'm not high up here, so that I am right here? Because when you're experiencing success and you're doing things right, your ego is going to come blindside you and drain you of your energy, insert these thoughts to your head, tell you stories to bring you back, to swing you back to your comfort zone. Because when you run out of energy or you get scared doing this new thing or living your dream life, the moment that the moment that you let your ego grab you and pull you back is the moment that the ego is won. So the more you can overcome and release the ego, release the attachment to the outcome, this is the place where you're able to finally grow and become this person. Take yourself off of this high swing of the pendulum and bring yourself back down here and become the middle space on the pendulum. And having this level of awareness will allow you to properly execute all of this on a higher level. And so I'm going to validate some things here for you. And I say this, and I hope this also lands for you, because you probably, if you're anything like me, you're like a mismatcher as well. You may even use the phrase black sheep of the family. And the first thing I want to talk about is the cognitive dissonance. We talked about a little bit about how to bring the gap together. And if you're suffering from cognitive dissonance, the distance between the inner and the outer world, it probably sounds a lot like when you see other people, you think, oh my gosh, you have it all together. You've got a beautiful life, beautiful family, your marriage is great, your kids are happy, your business is awesome, you're making tons of money, you got a great car, great house, your weight, your food, your body is under control. And maybe on the outside, somebody appears like they've got everything together. Or maybe that's the way your life appears. Usually, internally, there's another story going on, whether it's internally in yourself or in that person behind that facade, that you might even be thinking, man, my life is so messed up. I've got a great job or a career, I've got a great family, but I've been in my relationship for 10 or 15 years. I feel trapped and I don't even know how to get out of it. And maybe it's not as fulfilling as you think it is or want it to be. And in fact, even when you're with your friends or your family, you may put on a smile, but then at home you don't talk. And I wonder if that's how it shows up in your world, where the internal and the external world don't match. And so the thing that we like about people who are congruent is that we can trust them. We can believe the things that they say. And when you meet somebody who is congruent and you can see openly that their internal life is the same as their external life, that's very attractive. And when you become that very attractive person where you've got the external world which matches your internal world, you're also going to attract people who value this honesty, trustworthiness, who value this congruency between the two. And that's the thing that we can all start doing right now. Is if you say you are going to do something, that you actually do it. And I want to tell you guys a story real quick. I have I do a lot of cycling, and I actually went to a bike festival. I think this was back in April or something. And I had been to this online event. It was overnight. It was hosted by a mastermind that was in Australia. And so I was up all night long doing all this business boot camp stuff. And so the next morning I had a bike festival, and I thought, well, the business boot camp ends about 5 o'clock. I have to be there at 6. It's about an hour drive. Perfect, I'll do it. Everything went fine. I was telling everybody in the mastermind, I was like, yeah, I'm going to go ride 70 miles. I'm going to ride my bike 70 miles. And they were all like, yeah, good luck, Kat. And they sent messages. So when I got down to the bike festival, the people that I was with, they decided at some point that they were only going to ride 50 miles. And I had told everybody, I was like, I'm going to ride 70. I'm going to ride 70. And then they said, oh, we're only going to ride 50 today. In my mind, I'm like, oh, I told everybody 70. I have to ride 70. So I was so set on doing 70. I hadn't slept all night. I was like, I'm showing up here. I'm going to do 70 miles. So I did the 50 with them. And then, because it's a bike festival, there's like a luncheon afterwards and you hang out and talk to people. So I did that. I changed out of my sweaty cycling clothes and put some normal clothes back on, went and had lunch. And because it was an hour drive from where I was, when I got back to the car, I knew I needed to ride another 20 miles. So I was tired from riding 50 miles after not sleeping all night. I still, the thing inside of me though was like, I said 70 miles. So I actually looked up a trail in the woods that I could ride on, drove up there, put my sweaty cycling clothes back on. Yeah, it was a little gross. I put them back on, rode another 20 miles so that I could feel good about myself. So that and it had nothing to do with anybody else. But the fact is that I said I was going to ride another 20 miles. I said I was going to ride 70 miles and I hadn't. So to make things right with myself, I actually went out there and rode those extra miles. And when I did that, I realized that was for me. It wasn't for other people. It wasn't for anybody else who was there, and nobody else even really asked me, hey, how did the 70-mile ride go? It was for me. It's because I had run my mouth and told everybody I was going to ride 70. I needed to do it so that I would feel congruent in myself. And this is the first step in congruency. It's the seed of confidence. It's the seed of trusting yourself. It's the seed that if you say you're going to ride 70 miles, you better put your sweaty bike clothes back on and go out there and ride another 20 miles. And no, it wouldn't have made any difference to anybody else if I hadn't have done it. It would not at all. Everybody would have understood. Oh, it's fine. You're up all night. They would have given me the excuse, but it mattered to me because I said that I was going to do that. It mattered to me. And so when you become, and I don't say this to brag or anything, but it's one of the stories that stuck out to me because it was so significant that I felt this internal like dissonance that I needed to do this. And so when you have that belief in yourself, when you believe the things you say, when you do the things that you say, that's when you become congruent. And it's that internal game. It doesn't have to do with anybody else. It has to do with the internal game. Because when you're congruent, you can trust yourself. You can water the seed of confidence. You can become more trustworthy. You'll build your confidence, you'll build your self-worth. And so this is the gap between the two. And that's where a lot of people hide. They hide in the gap. When you realize that there is the gap and you realize that you are hiding, this is where you start taking those steps to acting like the cameras are on, to acting like you've always got a Facebook Live following you around. Because when you act by yourself, the same way you act in front of the camera or in front of social media, Facebook, whatever, when your external world and your internal world match, this is the basis of confidence, of self-worth, of being congruent. When you can take ownership of making that change, you grow as a person. Because staying stuck is a level of safety and is a level of hiding. And if you find yourself in there, reach out for help from somebody. Whether it's business or personal growth, you might need a coach. I know there's a relationship coach in the room right now. And I know that you're here because you're ready for change. And change is just around the corner. It's ready to come. The thing is, if you don't follow through on the change and you stay stuck, then it's going to mess with your confidence. It's going to mess with your self-worth. You're not going to get to that next level. And here's the thing about the human brain. And by the way, if you are not familiar, I know I think there's a psychologist in here that there are patterns of human behavior. And we've talked about one of them today, that we have a pattern of high energy, doing lots of stuff, acting like this, and then swinging over here. The pendulum, the pattern of the energetic pendulum, that you maybe do loads of work. That pattern may present in your relationship. That one week your relationship is so high, you can't keep your hands off each other. And then the next week, though, you're arguing, you're bickering, and you just want to tear each other's heads off. You just don't want to be around them anymore. And so the patterns of human behavior, there's many of them. The pattern is the same. The content is different. It may be real estate. It may be relationships. It may be your weight. It may be exercising, the food you eat, all of these things, how your house being cleaned. And as you learn more about psychology, you'll see how all of these things play out, and they have the different content in them. So the pendulum is just one of them, and it may have another name to it, but this is the one that I think is most visual. So we first took a little, so I just want to recap at the end. And we talked about productivity initially, and we talked about what things are you doing when you're productive. And then we looked at the pendulum and how it relates to your life. And we talked about a few ways to make you more consistent. Instead of swinging high up here and high up here, you had to just keep it right here in the middle. We talked about, so productivity, we talked about pendulum. We talked about the energy. We talked about the ego. We talked about living your goal life, your dream life, and the current life. So I want to ask you guys to participate in a little quiz. And this is a no answers wrong quiz. Type it into the chat. Now, after hearing these things, what does productivity mean to you? What does productivity mean to you? Has your definition of it changed at all? Yeah, oh, I'm catching up on the chat now. Yeah, change is good, Doreen, right. I love it, Eddie. Yeah, you've learned that sometimes good is good enough. Oh, that's a good question. And did you feel pressured to finish the 20 miles or you just want to? Right, right, right. Awesome, Doreen. Yeah, completion of tasks assigned for a certain time block. Ah, Sandra, very good reflection. Yeah, I love it. Productivity means not letting myself stand in my own way. Yeah, awesome. What is your productivity pendulum and what is the content in your pendulum? Are you a work a lot person and then you rest? Are you a eat a lot person and then you fast? Are you a, okay, Risa, I'll see you. Are you, what is your high energy thing and what is your low energy thing? Where does your swing? All right, Doreen, yeah. Having structure in your day. I do a lot of work out a lot, and then not work out. All right, so last one, whoops, I guess I didn't finish that one. So what are some ways or some action things in the future? If I write in here, it's gonna disappear, improve, or some changes that you can make. What are some things that you're gonna put on your action list or what's the thing that you are going to make the change today? Yeah, interactions with clients and mentors high. Yep, technical training low. Yeah, I love it, Sandra. Crazy and excited, plan conceptualized to, oof, how do I do that? Yeah, I hear you. You're like, all these big plans, these big projects, and then how do I get them in bite-sized pieces? I've got this elephant in my concept. How do I eat it bite by bite? I love it. Yeah, awesome. Sandra says, get a hold of my ego and understand the outwards world better. Right on. Okay, I don't think, oh, Joel said on task or on the couch. Yeah, that was the way you presented it. Sorry if I've missed your comment, by the way. Okay, yeah, Laura says, break the presentation into steps, learn to present to the seller. Right, yeah, Joel says, reduce the number of things I set on my daily agenda so I can aim lower and perhaps get some of them done. Right, yeah. Eddie says, work to be more consistent, not too high, not too low, moderate the excitement to overflow into mundane tasks. Cool, I love it. These are awesome. These are awesome. Do you guys have any other questions? You can unmute yourself about this content, about the ego, energy, and other things. And if you don't have questions, what are some of your takeaways while I drink some water? Tell me, well, what was some of the most important, coolest stuff that you heard?
The fact that you were talking about when you take action, you actually learn. When you're trying to learn from somebody else, I'm not so sure that when you say you don't learn from watching somebody else, I do feel like you still do learn something, but maybe not to the extent that when you experience it yourself, it's 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 more ingrained, it's more imprinted on you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And maybe I don't know if I'm just different from other people in that when you use the analogy of we don't so much when we're raising children as parents, we're not thinking, oh, we need to learn all of this first before we become a parent. But there's something different when you're working with a child who loves you unconditionally, as opposed to going to a homeowner or a buyer who already has preconceived notions of what they want from you and who you bring to the table, and trying to break through that before you get there. And so
I
I
see.
think a different analogy might work better for me than that one.
Okay. Good feedback. Thank you for sharing.
Sure.
Yeah, Joel, that's a good point. I like that you shared that. The thing that bothers me about someone else is pointing to an unresolved issue in me. Can you explain a little bit more?
Well, it just makes sense to me that, I mean, you said it, but it makes sense to me that when I'm bothered by other people, it's really not them. It's it's like being offended. I can be offended or not be offended, um, or temptation. Somebody who's an alcoholic is tempted by things that don't tempt me at all because I don't drink. But if there's something that is bothering me, it's not because of an outside influence. It's the issue is inside of me. It's not externally driven.
I love that. I love it. Yeah. Awesome. Awesome.
So I love what Joel says. So we control ourselves. We control how we feel about others and ourselves every day. And that's our conditioning. We have to recondition ourselves to remember that, to practice that, right? If someone cuts me off in traffic, it's my choice how upset I want to be, right? But I know that how upset I am affects my negative ions in my body. So I go, that's on you, man. I'm just not going to get involved in this at all whatsoever. Plus, who knows what he's packing in the car? I have no idea, right? Could be a banana, could be something else. I have no idea. So I'm going to try and just be respectful of that situation, but understand that you do not impact me. Positive or negative, I impact me. And as we get older, we realize that. So praise and criticism has the same effect, so to speak, right? Don't get me wrong, I'm very external. I love praise. I love a hug, right? But we had to learn the negativity that's conditioned, is how we feel inside about it and how we felt about it over years. And so getting to that point right now in our lives, how we accept negativity and how we accept if we haven't had a good day. Ken, I gotta be honest, 50 miles, I've been done. I'm going home. And you know what? No one knows about but me, but I'm okay. Because for me, good is good enough. I was up to 5 a.m. doing old Richmond's thing and everything. Sorry. Yeah. The fact that you showed up the bike, that's good right there. That's great, as a matter of fact. But there's something driving you internally to do an extra bit. Yeah. We don't know what that is, but something either currently or happened years ago to drive you to that point where you are today. That's the psychology behind it. That's the way our brains work. Our brains are like you said, are conditioned to protect us from pain, from hurt.
Right. Yeah.
So, great stuff today.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Eddie. Great, yeah, you're right. That whole bike ride. Yeah, I know. The whole time I'm like, you're fine at 50. You're fine at 50.
That's putting on the clothes and everything. Forget about it. That's just, I'd have bike naked.
I was so dedicated. I was so into, yeah. It was one of those things I needed to get it done for my own whatever.
And I want to say so I'm not a realtor, but I love this group. So I love what Kat does. But for all you realtors out there, I was one of the original top 3 short sale negotiators when when everything went to shitsville back in 08, 07. I worked with all the banks and all the realtors up and down the coast from California out to Pennsylvania. So I was the one doing all your short sales and making sure that it was all going to completion. I was also that idiot that was doing A to B to C transactions that y'all hated. And, but that my attorneys were getting approved. So anyway, I can read a HUD just like all y'all. And I know what it's like to go through the funding part of it because I had a funding company. And I understand the trials and tribulations. I understand the client management. So I get all that you're trying to do. And it's a tough job. It really is. And a lot of people don't realize all the work that goes into it. The 10 o'clock at night phone calls, you know, the 7 a.m. walkthroughs, the clients. God, gotta love those clients. And so, man, everything that Kat talks about is so true and so important to the mindset of being successful.
Thank you, Eddie, for coming today. I appreciate you.
Kat, there's another thing. I really felt like your idea and teaching on the first step of confidence is the seed of congruency, and just the idea of watering that seed. What you were talking about makes so much sense. Trying to bring the inner world closer to the outer world so that you're congruent, because it's not only that the other people sense that, but yourself. I don't think we realize that we're hiding because we're going back and forth so much. But when you just brought the idea together like that, it makes so much more sense to me about myself.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah, because I think that's a huge part of confidence. And I work with a lot of women and people who are new to the business, and there's a lot of insecurity around, well, I don't know enough, and I can't, why would I ask somebody to trust me when I don't trust me? And so I think that even though you may be inexperienced in real estate, you're not inexperienced in life, right? You've got a whole breadth of knowledge of, life experience. I mean, I think, when you show up and you start at a real estate career, I think there's a lot that is dismissed or not seen, or you doubt yourself because you've always been an employee, or so, and so there's a whole confidence building spectrum that has to happen where suddenly you are the leader of your life. You are making your proactive decisions on where you're going.
Yeah.
And that part of going from an employee where somebody tells you what to do to being both the employer and the employee, you're telling yourself what to do and then actually doing it.
That, and in addition to, or if you were, like I was in sales before, I was selling advertising. I wasn't selling the biggest asset of somebody's life that they're depending on, and making sure that all the contingencies are in order, all the dates are met. We're selling it at the right price. It's a lot, such bigger decisions involved to me than the smaller decisions of advertising, putting an advertisement together for a plumber or a window installer. Yeah, it just big difference.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in there and say kind of yes, kind of no, because if you remember that movie Catch Me If You Can, yes. The guy's name was Frank Abernagly, real long name. The reason he was so successful, they called it being one chapter ahead. So when he was faking it as a university professor, they said, how did you do that? You didn't know anything about history or about, he goes, I just read the chapter before I had to teach it. So I was one chapter ahead of the students. That's all he had to be. And as a realtor or in sales or anything, I remember I had somebody, I was selling women's shoes. I was 17. I knew nothing about women's shoes. I didn't know how to pump from a wedge. I had no idea. And the guy that owned the store, I was in the mall. He said, listen, no one knows but you how long you've been doing this. And because you come out like as a speaker, I was a trained speaker since I was like 9 or 10 years old. You know, when you get up there, no one knows how long you've been doing it. And what a lot of speakers make a mistake of, they get up there and they go, listen, this is my first speech. They're looking for sympathy. Well, the crowd doesn't give you sympathy. Now they're like looking at you going, this is going to be a train wreck. I can't wait to watch this. Joe, get your camera out. Right? So as a realtor, you know at least one chapter ahead of your client is good enough, because you're surrounded by an incredible team of brokers and agents and title people and mortgage people and every attorneys. Everyone's around you to help. All you have to do is one chapter ahead of your client and have that empathy and that care for them, and you'll be fine. Everything else will come to you later on. You don't have to know everything. You're not supposed to know everything, right? But that caring empathy, that's what makes you a good realtor.
Yes. Okay.
Absolutely.
I
Well
have to
said,
keep that in
Eddie.
mind.
Yes. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for your participation today. It really, honestly, it truly means a lot for me when you guys are present and you come over. I also want to let you guys know I am running a 5-day challenge on July 18th. Oh, I forgot to do the most important thing. I think, Laura, you may have already gotten registered. I want to give you a phone number to text and put in the word challenge to get registered. Let me share this in Zoom. Where'd you go? Because screen 3. All right. It is the 5-day Facebook lead challenge. I am teaching you how to lead generate organically on Facebook with your specific niche in real estate. We're going to talk all about what that means in the 5-day challenge. So right now, to save your spot, you can text. And Eddie, you are invited to my 5-day challenge. Text 321-415-7594. There, same number.
Yeah, that was coming anyway.
Awesome. Were you gonna come anyway? Did you know
Yeah,
that?
I love you. Listen, your challenges are awesome. Here's my thing. If I get one good golden nugget out of any time I spend, it's always worth it. I get 2 golden nuggets when I spend time with you. So yes, that's going to be awesome.
I love it, Eddie. Thank you so much. And just to bring all the pieces together, Eddie, that bike story was the same day that I texted you and I said, hey, I'm going to be driving past your town. Can I stop by? And you said, no, you'll be all sweaty.
Yeah, it's so funny because I did say that. And I just wasn't around, or that'd have been great. But yeah, I remember that. That's what I thought the story was about when I heard that. I remember that was the whole challenge. Yeah.
Well, after you told me no, I just said, fine, I'm just going to go ride another 20 miles.
And the first time I meet you in person, I wanted to be under better circumstances.
All right, I'm going to let you guys go. Eddie and I are just chit-chatting now. All right, you guys, thank you so much. And I will see Doreen. I'll see you at 3. And everybody else, I'll see you next time.
All right.
Bye.
Have a great day. Thank you.